So there are some interesting things about Gen Z. One, they have an incredible amount of spending power. So for such a young audience, they actually have a lot of cash that they get through allowances and work. They're a very entrepreneurial generation, and so these are kids who, having lived through recession, have found ways to be very entrepreneurial and are kind of building businesses. You hear stories about kids, building their own business at age 9 or age 12 now. That's what this generation really embodies. They're also voracious media consumers, and so we felt that the combination of them being such a great influential generation, being great media consumers, and the fact that if you look across linear television, traditional media has pretty much abandoned this audience. It created a great lane for us to be able to come in and build a media brand. So the content creation process is not unlike traditional film and television production. Obviously, the same tools and things are required. Some of the differences are that we often cast from social media influencers and YouTube stars. So we find great up-and-coming talent, and we put them into traditional roles. We put them into roles where they can develop themselves as actors and actresses in scripted storylines and things like that. And then we distribute those stories through all kinds of different platforms. So in some cases we tell stories as short as 10 seconds, and those go on Snapchat, to longer programming like a scripted series on YouTube, all the way up to feature films that are distributed in theaters or direct to iTunes or across SVOD platforms like Netflix and Hulu. So really, we're kind of distribution agnostic. We tell the stories that we want to tell, and we distribute them in places that make sense. It's a question that we think about every day. Certainly in platforms like YouTube or Snapchat or Instagram, those are primarily ad-supported platforms, right? And so in a lot of cases, we'll have sponsors or advertisers that will come in and perhaps have product placement in the show or sponsor a show, all the way up to our movies, which have very traditional distribution. They're in theaters, they're on iTunes, they're in the SVOD environment, and so those are monetized through more traditional content licensing and distribution deals. I think they get around to it. I think they realize that you can't really ignore the entire youth audience, and if you do, it's certainly at your peril. But I think there is a lot of confusion into how to speak to them. Even things like, people at this point refer to millennials as the youth audience. Well, millennials are in their 30s now. Millennials are not really the youth audience anymore. And so part of what we've strived to do is to really become the expert on the young audience and help educate people as to why this audience is important and how they're different from millennials and what are the ways that they can approach them.